David Hertel with you. Thank you for joining us this morning. A lot to get to with my next guest. You know him well. He's the Liberal Member of Parliament for Mount Royal. Anthony Housefather is on the line. Thank you for joining us, Anthony.
It's a pleasure to be with you, David.
So, a lot to get to. First of all, any comments, any reactions about your boss's and colleagues' cabinet retreat in Montreal earlier this week?
Well, the one thing I would say is I don't like the Prime Minister being called my boss. He's the leader of my party. He's not my boss. My bosses are the 120,000 people that live in Mount Royal.
Wow, well placed, sir. Well placed.
But I was not at the retreat. I am not in cabinet, so no, I don't really have any comments on the retreat, although you can feel free to ask me specific questions about it.
Interesting. I was sure you were going to give me a fascinating response. You did deliver. You did deliver. Well done. Well done. Okay, moving on. I really want your update on that letter you sent before the holidays to 25 universities, I think. 27 universities. So why don't you tell me first what was in the letter, and then tell me if you got any responses or any reactions.
Yeah, absolutely. So, from the time that we saw this upsurge in anti-Semitism across the Western world after the war started between Israel and Hamas, we were hearing from students on campuses that said that their life was becoming intolerable in terms of the uptick of anti-Semitism, having to walk through demonstrations where people were chanting what they deemed to be genocidal chants about Jews. Problems that they were having in classes when they were being visibly Jewish, problems with being, stating their views and not being attacked. And we ended up having, this not only in Montreal, at McGill, Concordia, Université de Montréal, at CEGEPS, but also all across the country. And having talked to students, having talked to faculty members who were Jewish, staff who were Jewish, we realized that this is a problem that was existing, across the spectrum of Canadian universities. So 4 of my colleagues, Marco Mendicino, Anna Gainey, David Lametti, and Ben Carr and I wrote to the 27 biggest Canadian universities, asking them a few questions. One of them was, is the call for genocide against Jews a violation of your code of conduct? We also, what happened at the U.S. hearings in the House, where Stefanik asked this question and the heads of MIT, Harvard, and Penn couldn't answer. They said it depended on context. Well, I'm pleased to tell you, David, that all 27 of the universities did answer on time. We gave them a January 20th deadline, and all 27 have confirmed that the call for genocide against Jews is a violation of their code of conduct, irrespective of context. So That is a good thing.
So everybody answered pretty much along the lines that you were hoping for.
Yes, that question, everybody answered along the lines we were hoping for.
Right.
And we asked a number of questions about how they were handling anti-Semitism on campus, whether they would agree to revisit their code of conduct to see if their provisions on anti-Semitism were sufficient, what training they were providing, how they were supervising student associations and college, and university newspapers to make sure that all viewpoints were heard. And by and large, the answers were very good. Universities Canada, had a meeting with us. They said that they've been working with the different universities. There were 4 meetings between the presidents of the universities since our letter to try to, find solutions on this issue. So our letter really woke them up. And I would say that, for example, the answer that President Saini of McGill provided was exemplary. He provided a 3-page letter that clearly was very personal, with a lot of backup documents, and some other universities like Queen's, University of Toronto, Saskatchewan, and I'm just naming a few. Their answers were comprehensive, and it shows that they've put a lot of work in this over the last month, and I was really pleased.
Okay, now I have to put this up against a report from Radio-Canada a couple days ago that said that in a lot of universities, especially in Quebec, but not exclusively in Quebec, but take, for example, McGill, that there's still a climate of fear, both amongst Jewish students and faculty and also amongst Muslim students and faculty. Your reaction to that?
Well, of course. I mean, the whole thing, in terms of the Jewish students, because I have not yet had Muslim students come to talk to me about, I mean, Islamophobia has always been a problem.
Sure.
Islamophobia exists, and Islamophobia is a terrible form of hate. In terms of escalation, it's only been Jewish students and Jewish students' parents and Jewish associations that have approached me on campus issues since October 7th. But of course, these issues have always existed, and I would only imagine that they've escalated since October the 7th, which is the whole reason we sent this letter, because I was getting so many people who were concerned about it. And the fact is that no matter how much the universities over the last month are putting effort into improving their policies and in trying to ensure that people feel safe on campus, this problem is not going away overnight. As long as this war persists, the universities have to engage and do much more to ensure that there's a climate of safety and on their campus for all students, whether Jewish, Muslim, or other. And so this letter that we sent was a first step. It was, hey, you guys really have a serious problem, and if you're not aware of it, we're letting you know that the House of Commons is interested, and what are you going to do to fix it? And at least they're putting a lot of effort into looking at their policies and seeing what they need to do to fix it, and engaging with Hillel and other associations on campus. But it doesn't mean that all students feel safe right now.
Because even another example, there was a demand letter sent by a lawyer to Concordia University, representing, Jewish students, saying, there's not enough being done. Same type of demand letter was sent to the city of Montreal. Now, I want to add to that, last week, the federal government's response with what's going on at the International Court of Justice with South Africa against Israel. There's been a lot of differing interpretations. First of all, what the Prime Minister was saying, then what Global Affairs said. There seems to be some ambivalence there. You add on to that, a lot of members of the Jewish community right here in Montreal, and it's not news to you, still feel that at the city level, the provincial level, even the federal level, there doesn't seem to be enough done to ensure the safety of the Jewish community. I'll give you for an example, and I'll let you speak after that. Dominique Leblanc, your colleague, he is the public security minister. I remember he called me when I was hosting Montreal Now in November following the shooting incidents targeting Jewish schools and synagogues, and he was saying, okay, the RCMP and CSIS is working with the SQ and working with the SPVM, and we're there. Haven't heard anything since. So are you satisfied with the Liberal government's response and what's being done on the ground since the October 7th attacks, where we are now today?
No, I'm not satisfied with any level of government in how they're handling it. I think it would be you'd be hard pressed to find Jewish Canadians in any in any city in this country that feel that municipalities, police forces, provincial governments, federal government has devoted sufficient attention to what is a 5-alarm fire. And I'm constantly pushing within my government. I have asked us to set up a national task force on anti-Semitism in post-secondary institutions. I've asked us to hold a second national summit on anti-Semitism. Dominic did a very good job in putting out a new adapted security infrastructure program that allows for funding for synagogues, other Jewish institutions, and those of other religions to be funded for security. But I think overall, police at all levels have, in the Jewish community's perception at least, not done enough on these demonstrations and keeping them away from areas where there are Jewish concentrations like Avenue Road in Toronto, and stopping, when things get out of hand and hate is expressed. So I think people are frustrated. And on the UN vote, as you know, Marco Mendicino and I wrote an op-ed in the National Post calling on the government to be clear that Israel is not committing genocide. And certainly I will continue to push on that, because I think our statement originally that the Prime Minister made seemed to indicate to me that we didn't agree with South Africa's claim, but then contradictory statements emerged from Global Affairs that put that in doubt. And I think we need to be unequivocally clear that Israel is not committing genocide. You can question Israel's actions in Gaza, but it is not genocide.
All right. That's all the time I have. Anthony, as always, appreciate your time and your candor.
Thanks so much, David. Have a great day.
You too. Anthony Housefather, Liberal Member of Parliament from Mount Royal.